srečanju Fakultete za državne evropske študije v letošnjem letu. Tema današnjega srečanja je Evropsko državljanstvo, bremena in priložnosti preteklosti. In čas mi je, da ste z nami dve ugledni gosti, na moji levi dr. Akademski iz Univerze v Lancastru v Angliji. It's an honor to have you with us. In na moji skrajni desni pa magister Andreja Valič, zver iz Študijskega centra za narodno spravo. Tema današnjega srečanja je v bistvu bremena in priložnosti preteklosti. Kaj to pomeni? V zadnjih 2 letih smo poznali 20-letnico demokratičnih sprememb v srednji in vzhodni Evropi, začenši z okroglo mizo na Poljskem, ki je pripeljala do prvih demokratičnih volitev, kasneje tudi s praško pomladjo in z prvimi demokratičnimi volitvami v Republiki in Sloveniji. In vsa ti dogodki so končali z bivšimi nedemokratičnimi režimi v srednji in vzhodni Evropi. Zato je mogoče 20 let kasneje primeren čas, da se ozremo, kaj se lahko naučimo iz preteklosti. In kako nas preteklost še vedno omejuje v sedanjosti. In na to temo bosta razglavljali naše dve gostje. Kot prva bo začela magister Andreja Valič Zver, ki bo predstavila svojo vizijo bremen in priložnosti preteklosti. Zato prosim, Andreja, beseda je tvoja.
Hvala lepa, Jernej, in najlepša hvala tudi za povabilo, da lahko tako, bom rekla, skupaj s tako ugledno gostjo razpravljam o tej temi in upam, da se bo res nekje razvila ta razprava tudi v obliki vprašanj in pa mogoče nekega iskanja nekih odgovorov. No, jaz sem dejansko razmišljala, v katero smer bi šla, pa sem se odločila, da bom ostala kar na tistem področju, ki ga nekako najbolj obvladam, to je pa recimo zgodovina, s katero se ukvarjam pri svojem vsakodnevnem delu. In z vprašanji sprave ali tranzicijske pravičnosti, kakorkoli že hočete temu reči, torej to je za mene vprašaj, oziroma vprašanje za prihodnost, zato sem tudi tako podnaslovila to moje razmišljanje. Tako kot je rekel Jernej, pred 22 leti smo, vsaj večina od nas, recimo, nekateri ste verjetno tudi mlajši, ampak spremljali prizore iz Berlina, ki je simboliziral razdeljeni narod in pa razdeljeno Evropo. Na eni strani zidu demokracija, torej demokracija z vsemi svojimi atributi, političnim pluralizmom, avtonomijo družbe, svobodnimi volitvami, pravno državo, spoštovanjem posameznika in njegovih temeljnih pravic in svoboščin, močno civilno družbo. In še bi lahko naštevali, se vemo, da je definicij demokracije veliko. Jaz sem se v današnjem razmisleku omejila na tole. Na drugi strani zidu pa totalitarni sistem z močno vseobsegajočo državo, eno samo partijo, ki obvladuje vse, tudi tisto, kar je najhujše, privatno življenje, ideološki monopol, velika moč tajnih političnih policij, vojske in vse skupaj je podrejeno eni sami ideji, eni sami partiji. Po padcu Berlinskega zidu je postalo jasno dejstvo, da je sicer zid sam po sebi sicer padal, ampak lahko bi dejali, da je postal zid v glavah ljudi in to prevelikega števila ljudi, ki so bili desetletja ujeti v totalitarizmih. Posledice se kažejo jaz sem tukaj uporabila izraz dr. Jožeta Pučnika, poškodovanosti mentalitet. Torej, dr. Pučnik je govoril o poškodovanosti mentalitet. To so ljudje, ki imajo težave z zaznavanjem in priznavanjem obče človeških vrednot. To so recimo demokracija, človekove pravice, solidarnost, svoboda in tako naprej. In to potrjujejo na nek način raziskave javnega mnenja v tako imenovanih postkomunističnih državah. Spomnimo se tiste iz leta 2009, ki jo je objavil časnik The Economist. in ki govori o tem, da se javno navdušenje za demokracijo zmanjšuje v mnogih oziroma v večini nekdanjih komunističnih držav. Torej, to je recimo ena od tabel, ki jih je takrat objavil The Economist in jih najdete na njegovi spletni strani. Slovenija sicer tukaj med temi državami ni, ampak verjetno bi se znašla kar nekje bolj v spodnjem delu ali celo proti repu tistih držav, kjer se navdušenje za demokracijo zmanjšuje. Podatki recimo govorijo tudi o tem, da v Romuniji recimo, ki je bila eklatantna, totalitarna država, skoraj polovica otrok ne ve več, da je bil Čaušeskov režim nedemokratičen režim. Otroci mislijo, da je bila to demokracija. In takih podatkov bi vam lahko navajala več. Torej, totalitarizmi, ki so pustošili po Evropi v 20. stoletju, so pustili za seboj trpljenje, žalost, uničevali so pa tudi družbene strukture, kulturne vrednote in duh humanizma. In po 22 letih je pravzaprav jasno, kako ogromna je ta poškodovanost mentalitet. Veliko večja, kot pa si je kdorkoli pred 22 leti lahko sploh predstavljal. In šele sedaj postajajo jasne vse razsežnosti tega totalitarnega pranja možganov, izbrisa zgodovine, revolucionarnega prava, izgona vrednot in preganjanja vseh, ki niso takšni kot mi. Zato se z nerazumljivo lahkostjo poimenuje ulice po krvavih diktatorjih. Nestrpno se zamahne z roko v odkritju grozljivih množičnih grobišč in pod krinko kvazi-humanizma pusti še naprej mirno spati ukazovalce in izvrševalce zločinov proti človeštvu. In tako se mi zdi, da se nahajamo pred eno usodno dilemo, kako naprej. Se ta krasni novi svet, v narekovajih seveda, po romanih Huxleya ali pa Orwella, torej grozote totalitarizma, lahko še kdaj ponovijo. To je za mene bistveno vprašanje. Bistveno vprašanje, zaradi katerega se ukvarjamo s preteklostjo. Zdaj, težko bi trdili, da svet zgrožen nad kataklizmami prve in druge svetovne vojne, pa recimo zadnje vojne na bivšem jugoslovanskem področju, ni naredil ničesar. Vse od sprejetja splošne deklaracije človekovih pravic leta 1948 je svet vse več pozornosti namenjal krepitvi kulture človekovih pravic in občutljivosti na njene kršitve. V različnih institucijah, na različnih nivojih. Sprejeta je bila cela vrsta deklaracij, resolucij, programov, priporočil in tako naprej. Ampak jaz bi dejala, da tisto, česar nam primanjkuje, je pa predvsem človeško sočutje. Ko govorimo o strahotah, ki smo si jih zadali v preteklosti. Te travme preteklosti so še kako žive in še kako boleče in brez njihovega ozdravljenja ne bo uspešne prihodnosti. Evropa se vse bolj zaveda tega dejstva, še zlasti po vstopu novih članic leta 2004. Te tragične preteklosti, ki jo ima Evropa za sabo, seveda ni mogoče zanikati. Je pa zelo kruto tudi spoznanje, da seveda Zahodna Evropa zelo slabo pozna in še slabše razume trpljenje Srednje in Vzhodne Evrope v času komunizma. In kljub samo lahko rečem, da tudi tukaj se obzorja nekako svetlijo, da tudi Zahodna Evropa poskuša nekako priti nasproti Srednji in Vzhodni Evropi tudi na tem področju. Jaz bi mogoče poudarila, da za uspešnost tega spravljanja evropskih zgodovin, za uspešnost evropskega spravnega procesa, so ključnega pomena številni premiki. Jaz se izpostavljam tukaj samo nekaj področij, kjer so prav gotovo pomembni premiki. Bili narejeni, mnogo nas jih pa še čaka. Politika, pravo, izobraževanje, zgodovinopisje, politična kultura, strpnost in nenazadnje jaz vedno poudarjam, da je tista osebna kultura, vsakega od nas, ta kultura, če hočete, medsebojnega odpuščanja ali pa notranjega miru, tudi izjemno pomembna. Mogoče za tako en kratek pogled, model spravnega procesa, ki je model, ki so ga razvili Švicari Mogoče o tem lahko tukaj gospod Boštjan Kolarič kasneje kaj pove, ki neposredno sodeluje z Švicarji, ki veliko delajo na področju spravnega procesa v okviru mednarodnega sodišča za zločine na področju nekdanje Jugoslavije. Z njimi tudi mi sodelujemo, tako da Boštjan te bom prosila, če boš lahko kasneje tukaj komentiral. Gre za to, da nekako brez pravice vedeti sprave ne more biti. Torej, ljudje imajo pravico vedeti. In tukaj, če na hitro izpostavim samo eno stvar, ki zlasti na Slovenskem zbuja mnogo vprašanj, pa mnogo pomislekov, vprašanje arhivov, torej dokumentacije. Dal o tem kasneje v debati. Pravica do poprave krivic. Tukaj je cela vrsta stvari, ki morajo biti narejene za spravo. Od rehabilitacije do različnih javnih komemoracij, spomenikov in tako dalje. Vse do izobraževanja. Pravica do zakonitosti. Tukaj je tvoje področje, recimo. Lahko o tem kaj. In pa seveda zagotovilo neponavljanja. Med zagotovili neponavljanja so Švicarji dali tudi ilustracijo. Jaz sem tukaj samo to komentirala, da smo Slovenci edina država izmed nekdanjih komunističnih držav v Evropski uniji, ki ni imela nikakršne oblike ilustracije. Tukaj je cela vrsta resolucij, priporočil in tako dalje, o katerih sem govorila, ne bom jih zdaj podrobneje predstavljala, ker verjamem, da jih večino od njih poznate, ker so o njih naši mediji tudi precej pisali, lahko jih tudi na spletnih stranih poiščete. Bi pa mogoče izpostavila, mogoče tudi za debato, samo eno pomembno zadevo, ki se je zgodila v letošnjem oktobru, namreč na temelju resolucije o evropskem spominu in zavesti je bila končno ustanovljena javna platforma, oziroma Evropska platforma spomina in vesti, ki združuje 21 institucij iz 13 držav, evropskih držav, ki se ukvarjajo z proučevanjem totalitarizma. No in med njimi je tudi Slovenski študijski center za narodno spravo. Tudi o tem lahko kasneje kaj rečemo. Da ne bom jaz predolga, bi mogoče izpostavila nekaj, o čemer bo verjetno tudi moja kolegica Agata kasneje govorila. Namreč, kako pomembna je preteklost in njeno proučevanje za prihodnost. Eden od glavnih teoretikov demokracije, za katerega verjamem, da ga tudi poznate, Anglež John Keane, je v svoji najnovejši knjigi Demokracija, ki jo je izdal, o demokraciji, ki jo je izdal leta 2010, zapisal, da je prihodnost demokracije odvisna od preteklosti, ki nenehno učinkuje na sedanjost. Skratka, on pravi, da ljudje zagotovo ne razumejo preteklosti, če ignorirajo, ne razumejo sedanjosti, če ignorirajo preteklost. In Keane nas opozarja na krhkost demokracije. Pravi, da demokracija ni nekaj, kar bi bilo zelo lep izraz v angleščini, set in stone. Se pravi, nekaj, kar bi bilo zacementirano, nekaj, kar bi bilo dano enkrat za zmeraj, ampak se moramo dejansko za demokracijo nenehno prizadevati. In še posebno odgovornost za prihodnost demokracije nosijo prav tisti narodi, ki imajo z kršenjem demokratičnih norm veliko izkušenj in medne sodimo tudi Slovenci. Kar je zaskrbljujoče v tem smislu je recimo podatek, pred nekaj meseci smo brali, da smo se po nekih raziskavah Slovenci znašli na robu konsolidiranih demokracij, oziroma smo celo padli ven iz konsolidiranih demokracij. Torej, za mene ključno vprašanje po demokratičnem prehodu, ki smo ga imeli Slovenci pred 22 leti, je sanacija razmer. In zlasti tistih, ki so nastali na ravni medčloveških odnosov, se pravi tudi vprašanje sprave. Kako pristopiti k temu zelo občutljivemu vprašanju? Kot sem že dejala, na več ravneh. Tukaj gre za aktiviranje pravne države, se pravi ustvarjanje zakonskih podlag za popravo krivic. Gre za znanstveno-raziskovalno delo, še posebej zgodovinopisno. Gre za politično raven, sprejem ustreznih političnih izjav. Politika je tukaj dolžna povedati, kaj je prav, kaj je dobro in kaj je zavrženo, kaj ni prav. Potem je tukaj edukacijska raven. vzgoja in izobraževanje za demokratično politično kulturo. In kot že rečeno, posebna raven je osebna, se veže predvsem na tako imenovano kulturo odpuščanja. Jaz bi mogoče samo še za zaključek, da ne bom predolga, ali pa morda kot izziv vprašanje evropske identitete. Konec koncev, vse evropsko državljanstvo je mogoče samo tisto pravna pika na i na evropsko identiteto. Pa da ne bo pomote, jaz verjamem, da imamo mi vsi več različnih identitet. Tisto svoje osebno, lokalno, tisto našo slovensko in tisto našo evropsko, ki se pa pravzaprav šele gradi. No in iskanje odgovorov na vprašanja evropske identitete in pa razmislek o človekovih pravicah, svobodi in demokraciji kot temeljnim vrednotam evropske civilizacije, to je seveda nenehen izziv. Evropa temelji na kulturni raznolikosti, ki posredujejo pluralnost pogledov, vključno z zgodovinskimi. Toda, ker je Evropa tudi zgodovinsko oblikovana duhovna skupnost, z lastno identiteto, s podobnimi vrednotami, je najmanj, kar lahko pričakujemo to, da ključne dogodke in procese podobno vrednoti. In zato je konsens evropske politike o žalostnih plateh evropske zgodovine izredno pomemben. Da se genocid, zločini proti človečnosti, kršitve človekovih pravic ne bi ponavljali. Preprečevanje izgube zgodovinskega spomina je nujno, se namreč ni mogoče trditi, da so Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, Tito in tako dalje pozitivne osebnosti evropske zgodovine 20. stoletja. Ni mogoče pozitivno oceniti holokausta, komunističnih koncentracijskih taborišč, izvensodnih pobojev in tako dalje in tako dalje. Nekatere temeljne elemente zgodovine je pač potrebno enako vrednotiti, ne glede na različno kulturno, versko, rasno, politično in kakršnokoli drugo pogojenost in pripadnost. Namreč le elementarno skupno vrednotenje zgodovinskih mejnikov lahko pripelje do nekega poglobljenega medsebojnega razumevanja in sprave, ki zagotavljata trajen mir in sožitje. In še zaključen stavek. Po mojem mnenju je tisti ključni element v tem procesu ravno izobraževanje. Torej vedenje o tem, kaj smo preživeli, vedenje o temnih plateh evropske preteklosti, ravno zato, da jo ne bi ponavljali.
Najlepša hvala, Andreja. Mislim, da se lahko vsi strinjamo, da preteklost v slovenski družbi mi lahko pišemo kot breme ali priložnost. Vendar v slovenski družbi danes morda obstaja soglasje v tem, da ni soglasja, kako interpretirati zgodovinske dogodke. Pač med različnimi strani družbe. Zato morda je dobro, da se pogledamo morda v neko komparativni pogled, da pogledamo, kako so v drugih državah se sprejeli za preteklosti, ali je preteklost v drugih državah res samo breme, ali tudi priložnost za razvoj potencialnih držav. And it's an honor to have with us Dr. Akademski from Lancaster University. Agatha is a lecturer in law in the School of Law of Lancaster University and also a prolific writer in the area of transitional justice. And why do we have Agatha with us? Just to give us a comparative perspective how Slovenia and Poland compare in this transitional justice context. As we all know, Poland was the starting country where the democratization began in the Central Eastern Europe. If you all remember the events in the harbor of Gdansk and then the round table, which basically ended with the elections, the first elections, first democratic elections in Poland. Agatha is also author of an excellent book, From Old Times to New Europe, which was published with Ashgate Publishers in the United Kingdom. And basically, she will give us a presentation on the legal aspects on how democratization was basically followed from in Poland. So please, Agatha, the floor is yours.
Thank you. How much time do I have? It's not to scare you. I'm not going to read my book.
Half an hour. So,
super. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an absolute honor to see you, Jerne, again. We have various gigs across Europe where we meet, transitional justice, and it's an absolute pleasure to meet you, Andrea. So, in my work, one of my, if you like, strong assertions is that history matters. History matters in Central and Eastern Europe. It forms an integral part to coming to terms with the past. Can you hear me? And it's where law is greatly affected, and more specifically, the judiciary. And this is the basis and focus of my work. It is what is occurring with respect to the judiciary. And my discussion today will focus on Polish developments. Hopefully there'll be themes there that can be drawn with respect to the Slovenian experience and elsewhere. And I analyzed case studies from two different periods, which I'll mention shortly, and the manner in which the misadministration of justice is treated post-1989. I'm interested in this because there's something that underpins the judicial identity, what makes up the judge. And while we might have an idea about what judicial independence is all about, it's not necessarily an answer to the problems that a state confronts, because those problems are actually very real. Okay. So research has shown that two key periods, and this is the Stalinist period, 1944 to 1956, and martial law. I sometimes say martial law beyond, but I'll explain that a little bit later. 1981, if you like, through to 1983, but arguably beyond. These two periods continually reemerge in present-day examinations, so 1989 onwards, of the judiciary. And this is in the context of decommunization, okay? Decommunization here, measures are concerning the dismantling of the communist legacy. I'm concerned with the criminal aspect of decommunization. Lustration itself forms a separate part that we can discuss for a month, at least, yeah. So what I'm going to talk about now is decommunization and what the state, the Polish state, is doing about criminal prosecution, disciplinary measures. So it's within this context that I am discussing these two periods. I like the word vignettes. I quite like the way that it sounds, although vignette is sometimes normally used with respect to something that's lighthearted, and these two experiences and what occurred there is anything but lighthearted, and I take that on board. So, before corned beef came in the post, or if you like, Second World War period, there was an interlude, yeah. This interlude refers to the pre-war period between 1918 and 1939. It's a brief period, but it is important. And again, for me, history matters in the present-day context, because it was during this time in Poland that we can identify, if you like, a tradition of democracy, if you like, a tradition of judicial independence. Okay? And this is something that is referred to in present-day reform and in present-day measures that are trying to tackle those miscarriages of justice that occurred under communist rule. Now, we can have a discussion about the form or the type of democracy that was operating at the time of the pre-war period. Arguably, Poland became more authoritarian up to 1939. But it did have the kernels, it did lay out constitutional framework within which an independent judiciary operated, and guarantees were provided for. There's an institutional structure there, and there was some sort of substantive life, if you like, to that notion of judicial independence. Yeah, judicial independence we're understanding as the separation of powers, the judiciary being on an equal basis with the legislature and the executive, and as a key player and a check on the powers of each other. Okay. Now, this came to an end in 1944. 1944 is when you have efforts already being undertaken in the eastern part of the country with respect to imposing, or if you like, building up a model that would eventually come to be imposed upon Poland. Okay. 1944 is when the Eastern Territories were occupied by pro-Soviet-led forces. This is in the form of the PKWN, the Polish Committee for National Liberation. It's outside of the scope of this discussion here to discuss the legal basis for this committee, but it is something that has been treated following 1989, because this committee would issue decrees, as we'll see shortly, that would have relevance with respect to a legal framework that was going to be put into place. So this pre-war interlude was ruptured. It was ruptured in 1944, the key player here being the committee, the PKWN or PKWN, which started to construct a framework, and this framework of course had its ideological underpinning. As we know, at this time it was something that was based on Marxism, Leninism, Stalinism, and it had a design that was given by Stalin's top jurist, Andrzej Wyszynski. Yeah? So there was an objective here with respect to the law. There was an objective here with respect to the way that it was going to be implemented, and there was an objective here with respect to who was going to be part of the new judicial cadre. So this was something that was already set in motion in 1944, and very quickly, very quickly, we have a new judicial framework that's being constructed that can be characterized by certain key features. One is secret sections, okay? Now, secret sections are nothing new, if you like, or secret trials, for example. There is more information that's now being available with respect to Polish archives. This is why it's sort of an ongoing project for me, I hasten to add, because as I go and return, I see more information that's being made available with respect to what these secret sections were all about, what they entailed. The work of the secret sections was based on the secret trials and show trials that were perfected under Wyszynski in the Soviet Union. There was a certain nature and style with respect to these secret sections, where there was a script of charges, there was a careful selection with respect to judicial officials who would be involved in these proceedings, so the judge, the prosecutor, defense counsel by name, perhaps, all of whom ensured that there would be the predetermined outcome to be realized. Okay. The other feature, if you like, during this short but far-reaching in terms of its effect, is a disrespect for due process. Now here is, you have here an identifier, if you like, through a lens of, I don't know, present day, in terms of due process. But even then, those who were involved in these secret sections, and this is what's fascinating, identified as disrespect for due process. Something that we can talk about now in terms of Article 6 of the European Convention on Human Rights. Concerning the trial proceedings, communication between counsel and the defendant was strictly controlled. You're talking here about a complete disrespect with respect to what constitutes a fair trial. Okay. So one of the cases, for example, that I've been working on and writing about concerns General August Emil Fyodorov, hero from the Polish underground, someone who was also imprisoned and spent some time in Siberia, to come back and to find himself arrested and, well, first under the watchful eye of the secret services, both Soviet and Polish, and then eventually arrested and brought to trial. And if you have questions about that, I'm happy to discuss his case further with you in the discussion period. But he's a perfect example here of a reflection of what not only occurred to him, but to all those who were still alive, who survived the German occupation and took the decision to remain in the Polish state. Law, of course, is going to attract me, as if you like, studying the law. And you have here relevant legislation that needs to be taken into account with respect to a basis for what would happen in terms of this period. So the first thing is the relevance of the 1932 Polish Criminal Code, which was modified to accommodate the ideological underpinnings of the new legal framework. And alongside that, you have various decrees. This is only an example of a few of these decrees that were in operation. There was a whole list of these decrees, but generally you have the slow introduction of pieces of legislation that allowed for establishment of quasi-courts, establishment of military courts, and of course the basis for criminal prosecution of crimes. And the crime that is key here is the crime of what was called fascist Hitlerite crimes. And that was something that affected General Fieldorf and his compatriots in terms of the basis for their arrest, charges, and later carrying out the death sentence. Another important aspect that is important, not only actors involved in a legal system, the law, of course, but it's legal education. And legal education maybe is something that's a bit underrated. It's certainly important in present day, if you like. Legal education was such a key aspect with respect to what was occurring during this period that was carried out over different stages. Now we know that lawyers, and again here we have, as a, if you like, the end in sight, talking about the importance of judicial independence. Lawyers are products of their social and legal milieu. Lawyers have their baggage with respect to this and the kind of training and education that they're getting. If you like, the new Polish authorities were very well aware of this and wanted to control the kind of training and education that was going to be given to the new cadre of lawyers and judges. So curricula of law schools was very much controlled between 1948 and 1954. This was done in the form of screening. Obviously those who were coming out from the pre-war in terms of legal education were put on a special list under special observation. Potential threats, for example. Not really quite sure of the political loyalty or disposability, if you like, to a sort of new system. And so the institutions also complemented the decrees that were promulgated and followed from 1944 onwards. There was screening with respect to judges and prosecutors. There was a second phase that involved the indoctrination in ideology. There are studies that have been done on this, one by Akademski, for example, which discusses the appointments to the judiciary, also to the secret police, which were dictated by Soviet functionaries and different sorts of manuals. And then there was a final stage that led to making sure that the authorities consolidated or had that complete control, if you like, over the judiciary. So you have an emphasis then placed on political disposability, ensuring that objectives were achieved in terms of criminal policy along ideological features that would have far-reaching and inevitable consequence in relation to what was going to ensue later. Legal knowledge was not a priority here. Legal knowledge wasn't a priority. So you had different standards with respect to the law. and different standards with respect to what minimum expectations were going to be fulfilled. Corruption was encouraged, but there were cracks. And this is something that was identified later with respect to even the way that certain trials were being conducted, which were politicized, which related to the opposition or controlling the opposition, that bothered even those who were very much dedicated to the, if you like, the new communist ideological framework. There was a committee that was set up later in 1956. Of course, we know that 56 was also the famous speech by Khrushchev and the big shock in terms of the, if you like, mistake. Something had to happen in Poland as well with respect to this. So you had a commission that was set up in order to investigate who was involved in these secret trials, which was important, but limited. It was limited because those who were involved in those secret sections of trials continued to work and continue on with their professional career, judicial career, or if you like, their legal career. And that sent an important message, if you like, to newer colleagues who would enter the legal profession in terms of corruption and opportunism, especially in the area of criminal law. Especially in that particular area of criminal law. Now, legal education underwent another reform in 1956. It was no longer that intense education over a year or 2 year period. Suddenly authorities started to realize that actually there is something about legal knowledge. For whatever motivation that underpinned the decision, there was more value that was being placed on a legal education that then led to a 5-year degree, if you like, 3-year degree or 5-year degree that incorporated more practical experience. There was, if you like, I'm just going to back up a bit, there was, if you like, this period of living in limbo where from 56, if you like, through to like jump over to martial law, you have a new judiciary that's coming into play, taking advantage of these qualifications. Better qualified lawyers, judges are retiring, but segments, or if you like, certain dimensions of the legal profession, in particular the criminal branch, would continue to see an opportunism, continue to see, or hear at least, okay, about colleagues who had that experience from that dark Stalinist period, if you like. So one argument that I make, or I like to assert here, is that there's a memory here that is there in the background with respect to a new, if you like, judiciary coming onto the scene. And of course, living in limbo also means that you've got these reforms coming into play, but what kind of legal system was it? Yeah, there's a contention here that you're dealing with a very moribund legal system, okay? But yet, discussions would occur as civil society, or pockets of civil society, started to arise within the Polish judiciary. There was room for that, and I think that's an important thing to take into account, because as solidarity grew, and this is something that's not very well documented, actually still yet, because it's still in the archives, as solidarity started to spread amongst the judiciary, you started to get discussions about human rights, and that information was coming from somewhere. Yeah, protection of human rights, judicial independence, which actually the notion never went away, even in those deep, dark recesses of the Stalinist period. Please, we mustn't forget as well, and something that, you know, for international criminal law, we mustn't forget Nuremberg trials would be something that would be known by criminal judges in terms of natural law, positive law, what is good law. So we get to martial law, and we have, if you like, the period running up to martial law. There was a development of civil society. There are different statistics indicating that out of a pool of, just bear with me, out of a pool of 4,000 judges or so, you had some 867 who who belong to Solidarity. Others cite that the administration of justice, which is all judicial officials, cite 10,000 members in administration that employed 24,000. So there was support there with respect to the Solidarity movement. Suddenly martial law was decreed, okay, and Jenny gave you a little précis to that. Martial law was decreed on 13th of December 1981. Again, this is something that's outside the scope of this discussion, but you know, martial law was something that was held in itself to be unconstitutional. That's something that was later discussed and something declared by the Polish Parliament. But what martial law did in 1981, and as what happens, this is again not a novel feature because of the state of emergency, is that you get different crimes appearing, or specific crimes that are introduced under the martial law period. And most importantly here, and this is where you have some interesting research coming out, is court competence, in terms of certain cases suddenly being transferred into the competence of military courts. Yeah? Political crimes, right? And this is what occurred. This is what occurred in Poland in the period of martial law. So that decree amended the way in which relevant military courts functioned during martial law. After martial law was imposed, some judicial officials took the opportunity to resign voluntarily. Solidarity, of course, became a prescribed or illegal organization in 1981. Other judges were forced to retire. There's a lot of pressure put on judges during this very brief period. Yeah. Crimes that we're concerned with were outlined in Articles 47 and 48 of the 1981 decree. This is where also you had the jurisdiction of the military courts that was extended and that I referred to. I'll talk about the crimes in one moment. But when martial law was lifted in 1983, overall, judges felt frustrated and misunderstood by the state and the public. Yeah. It was clear that any forms of dissent would not be tolerated and they needed to be tempered. Okay, that was clear when martial law was lifted. You still had the pressure put onto the judiciary, and further, and this is something where what I see as a sort of extension, if you like, of martial law, perhaps even in a worse way, is that you had more draconian measures that were passed 1985 onwards in relation to controlling or, if you like, quelling dissent. Yeah. So, taking the Stalinist period, taking the, if you like, martial law period, these 2 points in terms of the common themes. Because remember, these are the 2 points that are important with respect to what occurs after 1989. We see that there were admissions of mistakes that were made in 1956, but that didn't really do anything meaningful with respect to reforming the judiciary. This meant, for all intensive purposes, a moribund legal system, some pockets of freedom operating, of course, and it has to be recognized throughout, but that came to the fore in prominence in the 1970s. And you had these pressures under martial law, okay, pressures that, if you like, worked alongside the memory of the dark Stalinist period, which never went away. Remember, there was nothing meaningful there that was done. Threat of redeployment, threat of disciplinary hearings if you as a judge didn't follow the party line, particularly if you were a criminal law judge, or forced to hear certain cases. This wore down the judiciary, and it resulted in a general demoralization, right? And you have lessons now from, if you like, these 2 vignettes that were brought to the table, the round table talks in 1989. 1989 was a moment, opportunity for the Polish judiciary to form a new judicial cadre. And there were fantastic lawyers who were operating, you know, had roots in Solidarity, that took part in these discussions at the roundtable talks. Remember, roundtable talks wasn't a feature of all states in the transition, yeah? Roundtable talks were something that occurred in Poland and in Hungary. And you could read about the roundtable talks, and you could see the transcripts. There were legal representatives there, and they put down a paper, and they said, this is what was happening in order to guarantee judicial independence. And they had key points that they laid out, which in general refer to constitutional guarantees, some sort of verification process. The memory of Stalin was there. The memory, because it was just yesterday, of martial law was there. So, and the creation of an autonomous body, if you like, in the form of the National Council of the Judiciary to ensure judicial independence, okay? And for the most part, yes, the tick box exercise was conducted and it was carried out, right? Alongside this, a very important feature of 1989 is this policy, if you like, that was presented by the government at that time of the thick black line. It was the thick black line, the gruba czarna cresta, that was the policy of the 1990s, that meant there was a line drawn between the past and the present. It was a process with respect to the judiciary, now that I'm talking about, of self-cleansing. Very much a moral tone was to occur within the judiciary. It was self-cleansing, it became a part of the approach to the past. So the argument was that self-cleansing would become part of the decommunization package. We wouldn't go out and hunt those naughty judges because they will feel so bad that they will step down and go away, okay? The problem with the thick black line, and again, we don't have a lot of time to analyze this, but there's nothing to put in place of the thick black line if it doesn't work. Self-cleansing means you're dismantling as part of the decommunization package. But what do you put in place? It's not just all fluffy, nice feelings, is it? Yeah, because these judges didn't step down, and they were there. And this then, you could see what's happening, because it's not only a feature with respect to Poland, but also it becomes a very politicized issue. And all of a sudden you have Polish senators that came out and became very frustrated with respect to that black line policy. Okay. Apart from the Supreme Court, there were complaints that for the rest of the common court system, you still saw the same faces, these judges that were implicated in a misadministration of justice, if you like, that rendered decisions that ruined lives. Deputy Minister of Justice continued to argue that Polish judges tried very hard to preserve their integrity. Yeah? So, the first, if you like, move, and this works alongside parliamentary debates. Olszewski came out with a list wanting to name certain secret agents, if you like, members of the secret police, became very politicized. You remember Wałęsa was president at that time. Politics became very ugly, to say the least. But what you have is somebody trying to sneak in Article 59 into the law and common courts, structure of the Polish judiciary, to dismiss judges who departed from the principles of independence. So this was a way to get rid of communist-era judges. So this is a way of dealing with that memory or the haunting. This was a decision or a law that went before the Constitutional Tribunal. The Constitutional Tribunal said this is unconstitutional, too vague, too wide. It's completely flies in the face of rule of law as outlined in Article 1 of the Constitution. So the law was redrafted, and what you have is a 1998 law where you have, according to the first article, judges who adjudicated in cases in that period set out on the power slide, and then it specifies which issues are important here in relation to that period. Struggle for independence, political reasons, protection of human rights, had violated the basic principles of human rights, and in doing so violated judicial independence, could have disciplinary measures initiated against them until 2002. Okay? Very important time frame put onto the question of looking back at misadministration of justice. One thing to bear in mind, what's working alongside this in this period, is that the tribunal is also shaping the law in relation to transitional criminal justice, in relation to retrospective justice. It's a very important feature, if you like. Underpinning transitional justice, what gives the state the right to look back, yeah? Retrospective justice is a fundamental right that we have, yeah? Should we find ourselves having to face consequences for actions. There's a core to retrospective justice. So you have your clarity where you have actions that constitute the elite of crimes, and that's genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes. These crimes do not have a statute of limitations, if you like, yeah? And that was something that was clarified quite early on in 1991. Another development here, something that Andrzej and Jeremy are familiar with, is the institution, the Polish Institute of National Remembrance, IPN, which functioned as an institution during communist rule under another name, which investigated Nazi crimes, if you like, and then later Stalinist crimes. It had a refurbishment, if you like, or a face change, and it is now IPN. There's a chief commission for the prosecution of communist crimes since 2000, and then there's that ever important definition, if you like, legal definition of what constitutes a communist crime. Okay? And that is set out in the law related to IPN, and there you have the mandate for IPN with respect to investigations. However, what's important to note is Article 2 addresses retrospective justice and addresses a time limit, which adheres to retrospective justice. Yeah, there's a statute of limitations here where you have communist crimes that either will constitute, if you like, murder or other. And they have a 40-year, 30-year statute of limitation retrospectively. During this period, since 1989, and this ongoing debate, because it's quite contentious, this debate with respect to judges, and all you have to do is take a look at the Constitutional Tribunal jurisprudence to see how contentious it is. Allegations that the judges are tainted, that, generalizations made about the judiciary that indicate that steps this question is ongoing, that somebody needs some sort of clarity with respect to why there was no verification, what is the current, if you like, situation with respect to the Polish judiciary, and what is the state going to do with respect to judges who misadministered justice. I'm going to move ahead to this, and then I'll refer to something back for clarity. This was dealt with then. Law was redefined, and we have here the issue or the answer with respect to what to do with judges who violated